child, I believe. So, but I really wanted to say thank you because this convention in particular has provided me with a very specific opportunity to literally keep afloat. I don't know if anyone in this room has ever been through a home renovation. Anyone wants to give a show of hands? Anyone who's been through that horrendous experience? I am so sorry for all of you. This was my first experience. We've never invested in any real estate or anything really before. I'm such a gypsy for work, and I've never really put roots down, and never known that I'd be able to pay a mortgage. I'm still not sure at this point. We've got this really great deal because we have no credit history. We are negatively amortizing our mortgage, so we're just adding on money to the principal instead of paying off the mortgage at this point. It's genius. I've never been good at math, but I can pretty much figure out this is terrible. It was on the advice of my business manager that we purchased this house, and I think he will no longer be in our service by the end of the year. But we've had just one of those weird years. I know you guys can relate. We're just one thing after the other. You know, no matter how much you plan in your life, I always say man plans and God has other ideas. We thought we planned out our year really well. All sorts of things have happened. And I'm sitting here very grateful that for every autograph I sign, I've been able so far today to get a new toilet seat. There
you go.
I can't tell you how grateful I am. Because the guys who are working at the house at the moment, I walked in after one of them and went, "Oh my God!" and walked out again. So thank you for helping me buy a new toilet seat. I really mean it. It wasn't in the budget, and now it can be. The thing for me is you're also helping me to fulfill a dream because I want to have a home birth, and at the moment we don't have a home. And I keep saying to the guys on the site, it's a home birth, not a Home Depot birth. I swear to God, I'm going to pop this baby out in aisle 13 in the lunch section. It's really not what I want to do, and I'd say to anyone who hasn't yet had a baby but who is thinking about it, you hear all these horror stories. I had such an amazing birth experience a couple of years ago with my first child, and I would wish that for everybody. And a lot of that has to do with, I think, what we propagate about the whole concept of birth. And everything, I had a great chat with one of my best friends who said, everything I know about birth, I think I've learned from the movies. Well, I said, well, the same. I mean, these massive babies come out in the movies, and I thought, how on earth am I going to naturally give birth to something that size? Because of filming laws, it has to be a 3-month-old child. So, thankfully, once I realised that these babies were actually several months older than a newborn, I thought maybe it was conceivably possible to do it without, horse tranquilizers. And I actually gave birth a week early, out of town, at a friend's wedding. And they say, I don't know if it's sort of anecdotal, if it's sort of urban myth, but they say electrical storms, plane flights, things like that can bring on labour. So my doctor said the day before I left, it was a domestic flight, and in Australia the rules are as long as it's a domestic flight, you can travel up until your due date, if it's not too long a flight. So they allowed me to get on the plane. And we arrive at our sort of holiday condo, and someone designated our condo as the party condo. And we'd also been given a room that was down the hall from the bathroom, and I sort of had to kick someone out of their room so I at least could go a million times during the night to the loo. And that evening, as I was talking to everyone, I started to experience these weird sensations, and there'd actually been an electrical storm in the sky as well. So as I'm flying here last night, through the lightning, I'm thinking, well, won't I have a story to tell tomorrow morning when I'm on stage with the baby in my arms? And quite a phone conversation with my poor husband. I've also been granted this opportunity, oddly enough, to spend, apparently I need to get on a plane to spend 4.5 hours with my best friend who I haven't seen in ages. So I'm just sitting here incredibly grateful to all you guys. I know this event's been going for a long time, it's my first time attending, but it means a lot to me just even in the last 24 hours, I can't tell you. But enough from me. I'd love to hear from you guys. I really haven't had an opportunity to meet any Stargate fans specifically in person. Thank you to the Farscape people who can hear from me. So if anyone has any questions.
I have a question.
Is that what happens? Does the mic come to those who...
No. They have to go here and form a line.
Okay.
Oh, there's a line form.
Can't be over that speaker without getting it.
Sorry, say again.
Right over here, you get feedback.
I have a quick question. Since you were on Farscape before you went out to Stargate, did your experience on being in their sci-fi show help you prepare, I guess, for Stargate, or was it just completely different, like it prepared for the role?
It's a good question. They're entirely different beasts in one sense, obviously. But the common thread, I'd say, was our attempt always for humour. And as the thing I loved about Farscape the most is the more we got into our groove, the more, I think, funny it became. And we were all able to collaborate and put in our 5 cents plus tax for what we thought was amusing at the time. But very different animals in terms of filming style, atmosphere on set. Farscape was, Australians are very, we have a lot of levity, and we like to really enjoy ourselves on set. We like to have a really good time. The Farscape environment was a really intense one for a lot of reasons. It was probably the most anyone had spent on a production of its kind ever. There were so many elements. I would never have wanted to work in that production office. If anyone works in film production or TV production, it's enormously stressful. And the way that I describe it is that it's like a puzzle where each individual piece, you're trying to assemble the puzzle, but each time you go to assemble it, the individual pieces keep changing shape. So you can never get that puzzle to work the entire picture simultaneously. So each day you're just working on those little pieces to try and get them to fit so that everyone can do their jobs and get the day done. Stargate was such a well-oiled machine by the time I found these guys that, it was quick, it was organized, it was, everything had its place, everyone knew what they were doing. And, Vala is such a delightfully messy character that everyone was grateful to have something throwing them for a bit of a spin. And so when I would come on set, they'd say, okay, so Claudia's going to stand here and she's going to, and I said, right. Really? Because that's what someone in the military, she's going to sit and, really? Does Vala need to sit? And it was a really interesting process for everyone because we'd all stop for a second. Anthony McKinney would say, oh, good point. She's not beholden to anyone or anything. She's completely renegade. What do you want to do? Well, which is such a fantastic privilege for an actor to be in a position, to have all that at your disposal. And then the additional layer for that was, on Farscape, it was almost not every man for himself, but everyone was sort of suffering from some incredible performance adversity. The puppeteers were all kind of, like this, and, to 6 people trying to get Rigel into a room, and Brian Henson would come in and say, I don't know, how come Rigel hasn't been in any scenes lately? And then he would direct and be like, oh my god, I get it, okay, do we need Rigel in the scene? So, for those of you who haven't seen Farscape, it's an animatronic puppet that's, amazingly articulate face that requires someone controlling the eyes, someone doing the mouth, someone speaking, someone doing ears, sometimes human hands in each of his hands, someone on the sled with their hand in him, and then a couple of people sort of sliding him in and out. And then was revoiced later by someone else, which was another interesting complication. So, and then there were obviously the prostitutions who'd come in and touch on his makeup, like the actors. It was hilarious. We needed checks on Rigel as much as we needed on that. And so, on Farscape in this blistering heat in Australia with no AC, a little less humid than Atlanta, but definitely up in the 90s in the summer, if not into the hundreds, with no AC, people wearing full prosthetics, wigs, vinyl or leather or both, coats, everything. It was the full glam rock experience in SA. full contacts, all of that stuff. So everyone was suffering. So I felt like, you know, Ben and I being the only two humanoid aliens, or me being the only humanoid alien and the only human at the start, that we kind of had to be ambassadors to sort of try and keep people afloat. And I will refer to it as walking meltdown. You know, it's just something you're naked about to kind of, and we have to find the 80s and say, you know. So when I came to Stargate, there was just this incredibly buoyant, yet organised atmosphere on set. So for me, very different experiences as an actor. Not having that same responsibility as a leading lady as I did on Farscape. It was a very serious character and a very serious responsibility. Vala, I just got to sort of walk in and mix it up. But yeah, I'd say the common thing is definitely, I think it's the same the world over, but that's what I hope for anyway, and I've not found any exception to this rule yet. That sets are a place where people have to work very hard. They have to enjoy themselves and they have to be passionate about what they're doing otherwise.
They're neither one here, so you can be honest this time.
So that you want me to be honest this
Yeah.
time?
Well, other times one of them is
To
there.
answer this question. Well, a mother is never supposed to pick favourites, and neither is an on-screen lover. They're both equally delicious. Not from experience of taste. It's a metaphor. No, they've got a similar work ethic, and they're both brilliant upstairs and creative and interesting and funny, and they both were very protective and supportive of me, and that's reflected in my performance. I think if I'd done an outrageously crap performance on one show and vastly different on the other, you might start to think, oh, perhaps, what were the circumstances surrounding that actor's experience that they were so good on one show, or seemed to be better on one show than the other. I felt equally supported. I felt that in both instances that we would be friends if we'd met socially, and I wouldn't really have survived in either environment, no matter how supportive, without either of them. I'm a really lucky girl to bounce off one show, one very tight working relationship with Ben, to then suddenly meet Michael, who, funnily enough, when I first met him, when I came to the set, he was walking past and someone said, oh, Michael's really glad to come to work on the show. Oh, cool, and I was still standing there waiting to do a fight rehearsal with him. And he walked past, and I thought he had seen me, and he kept walking, and I thought, he's one of those. He hadn't seen me at all when he came up. He was just, oh, hi, it's really nice to meet you. And he was just like, so Canadian and so sweet. And I was like, okay, I have to get that thought out of my head now. He's a completely different person to who I suppose I thought he was. And I was so impressed because straight away Michael was contributing and sharp in the same way that Ben was about, let's make this better, let's make this work, and whatever. And I said to Michael, fateful words really, I think, according to him, because it kind of etched our friendship in stone. I went up to him because I was on the opposite side of the fence this time. I wasn't a leading lady trying to make guests comfortable. I wasn't sort of Julie the cruise director. I was love boat if anyone's old enough in this room.
There you go.
I was the guest, and I remember on Farscape being eternally grateful for the people that would come in every week and say, just to see the look of wonder in their eyes, first of all, at the costumes and the sets in Farscape, which were sublime, and the detail that you never really see unless it's up close. Hence why I'm so impressed when people come and they've recreated costumes from Farscape, and the detail is there, and you think, wow, and they had to do that on a weekly basis, constantly creating those things. And the guests would come, and there'd be that look of wonder, and they would say, this is amazing, what a fantastic opportunity for you guys to work in this environment. You're so lucky. I'm so jealous you're doing this every day. And we'd be sort of like, we've got to come at 8 and we're exhausted and I want to do overtime tonight. Feeling sorry for ourselves in whatever way. And the guests always reminded us how grateful we should be and how lucky we were. And all the positives. And it was a form of service that they provided in this odd way that they weren't expecting, probably. That they were helping to lift us. And it was an intimidating environment. I think you walk onto the Farscape set, it's like hooly-dooly, and everyone else seemed to know what they were doing, and it seemed to move quite quickly for the guests when they came on. So for me, with Michael, I thought, what would help him? He's been on this show for a long time. I haven't seen all his sort of interactions with female characters in the show, so I'm not sure what I can bring to the table. So I'm going to ask him, and I said to him, I don't know, this script is really fun, and it's a great opportunity, and I don't know if you've had this kind of opportunity before, so I just want to know what aspects of your character you haven't been able to explore before, where you would have the opportunity now. What can I do for you to encourage that to play and to come out? How can I make this really sort of sing for you? What do you want to do, and how do you want to have fun, if that's, if it is indeed your intention to enjoy yourself? How can I serve you? And then we started working and talking about it. And I think Michael was just sort of stunned for a moment that it had actually been verbalized. I just wanted to make sure I was there for 2 days and wanted to really sort of. And he's so brilliant in it. My husband and I have watched that episode whenever Meet This Unbound comes up on cable. We watch it to enjoy Michael, because I don't think he's given his real credit a lot of the time for the leading man that he really is, for the comedian that he is, and for the action hero that he is. And I think he nails it in that episode. And so we just, my husband's so nice to see him appreciating another actor's performance. And he'll do the same with Ben too. There'll be certain episodes that we've caught in the past, and he'll say, that was funny, that was really well done, and I can tell that Ben's put his print on that. And as he gets to know the actors in my life, he can start to notice their style and their idiosyncrasies and the ways that they've probably contributed to the script. And he'll read them sometimes too, he'll pick up the script and go, oh, what's happening this week? Yeah, it's a nice position to be in, especially since he's a genre boy himself, getting inside scoop. So I think, again, it's an interesting question, but I'm really, again, grateful and lucky that I can answer that with full sincerity, that there's no way I can make a choice. They're both brilliant. I'm sure you know that yourself, so.
Hi, Claudia.
Hello.
I'm a new fan. I just got introduced to Farscape 3 weeks ago. And
Any scars? Is your brain hurting?
I watched the entire series in just under 2 weeks. And I was just curious what your most memorable experience was while you were making Farscape.
What was your most memorable experience of watching Farscape in 2 weeks?
I still haven't put it all together yet. I'm watching again. It blew my mind away.
Wow.
It is now actually my favorite TV show. And I'm starting Stargate after this convention, so I came here just to see you, so I'm really excited to be here.
Wow, well, Stargate, you do realize that there's 10 seasons of Stargate. I'm really, can I ask you though, how Farscape came to you? How did you find it?
Actually, my friend Deborah couldn't stop talking about the show.
Deborah, where are you?
And she couldn't stop talking, and I've never really been a huge sci-fi fan, and I was like, hey, if you like it, I'll give it a try. And I just couldn't put it away, and that's why we're here. We're here because you're here, Stargate's here, Farscape's here. We just decided like a week and a half ago to come to this convention, so it's really amazing to be here.
Oh, I'm really glad you came. Because, one of the things I love, or two of the things I love in life, travel and catching up with friends, and you get to meet new people at these conventions. From what I can tell, it's a fantastic community, a fantastic opportunity. The internet's done amazing things, forums, and introducing people from other sides of the world, but it also is bringing them together in person, place of practice. So it's a really cool thing to come and do. To answer your question, most memorable experience of film. So many things on the slideshow of things, just looking through right now. You know, Anthony Simcoe with full makeup on, who plays Dargo, but with boxer shorts on. Socks and sandals, walking along in the heat, sort of talking with this really broad Australian accent, going, "Oh God, I'm so bloody starving, when's lunch?" Terry Ryan, the costume designer, running around behind saying, "Get me off this show!" I remember the first time I saw Wayne Pygram walking down the hall in his Scorpius costume. Wow. That's when we knew what show we were working on. I get it. And the really cool thing was all the guys from the feature shop who created those costumes all dressed like that on the weekends themselves. David Elsie's wife, Lou Elsie, who designed the costume standing in the wings in the final season when they'd introduced all the super scarons, and they were all in their sort of rock glam costumes with everything on, and just the immaculate detail on all of them, and it's grown men in 6-inch platforms with their full contacts in and their dentures, and they're so sticky and spinning, and someone's got a cooling unit on them, and they've got a drink through a straw, and Lou Elsie was sort of standing there saying, I can't really quote what she said because it's not fit to print, but her excitement that one of her life dreams had come to fruition, standing there watching all of her creations about to be captured on film, seeing them on live bodies, and seeing them all assembled in this room, and just sort of seeing the joy, the pure joy that she was experiencing. She was just, I'm so excited I could ... Ben and I doing the fabulous, I know all actors say I did most of my stunts, but on Farscape in Australia we were so damn cheap on the production side that we did do most of our own stunts. They're more careful in North America, and they do use stunt doubles with more frequency. We had great stunt doubles who were also a couple, which was really sweet. So the girl who doubled Aaron was the girlfriend of the guy who doubled Crichton. So that was really sweet, and they had great chemistry, obviously. There was one point at which I was a little frustrated with her during this sequence that I'm going to mention. We were out on some sand dunes, and that was one of the best location shoots I've ever done. We had sort of Mad Max style buggies. We got to hoon around, or fang, which is an Australian technical term for hooning, in these sand dunes, pedal fully down to the metal and just going as fast as we could. Me untethered, having to sort of act while Ben was driving the vehicle and get up and attempt to fire a weapon and then get back down again and what have you, and running around with sort of mortar, like sand bombs going off around us. And there was one particular shot where the director said, well, we've got the final shot of the show if they don't continue you next year, because from that angle the two of you looked like you were completely blown to smithereens. And Ben pulled his he pulled a tendon, like he ripped it. I think it actually went up inside us. And I could tell he was in immense pain. And he was a quarterback, so he's sort of experienced whatever punishment can be inflicted on him in the form, I think. But I could tell he was in a lot of pain, and we didn't have any ice immediately on set. I just raced to the soda box, and I got him a cold can or something, and he put it on his leg, and I could see that he was just sort of holding it together. And I think he had a day or so off. He went into the hospital, and he'd forgotten that he still had all his makeup on, and the doctor was sort of, it was a very odd conversation. Because Ben hadn't explained that he was an actor and no one had filled the doctor in. So it was quite bizarre. And he said, so what exactly happened? He said, well, we were running from some aliens who were trying to penetrate. Whatever it was, the doctor was starting to fill out a form for the cycle. Very funny. But that day, or those days out on that sand dune with my buddy Ben, just being allowed to play with these toys and get dirty and jump around, and it was just in the Australian summer and these sand dunes down near Cornell with Qantas Flight 11 going over our head every now and then while I was trying to pee off in the sand dunes. Getting ready to land. There was this incredible sense of freedom just shooting out there. And there was a lot of freedom on that set in some ways. It was like the lunatics had taken over the asylum because the network was open in the States and we were in Australia, and you know, we had to get the day shot somehow, and if it wasn't working the way it was scripted, then we had to come up with our own ideas. And so it was those sort of experiences, that sort of that wildness, that sort of almost like a western. We felt like we were sort of living it for real in a way. It was just those location days were fantastic, and it's very expensive to shoot locations, so we really treasured those days. But there are so many sort of memorable moments in the Farscape. So many stories behind every single scene. So.
That your agent's pulling you at 2 o'clock?
I'm sorry?
Is your agent really pulling you at 2 o'clock? We're willing to go to 2:15.
If it's up to me, I'm happy to go on longer. That's not a decision I can make.
Your agent in the room? Your manager, agent?
Julie. Looking for Julie.
Stephen's going to go and find out, so let's just make the most of it while we can. Next question.
That works.
Okay, quick. I know you've done a lot of voice work or other things. This is not Farscape or Target. And recently you did a podcast and you mentioned in passing that you had completed an audiobook. Is that something you can talk about, or what's that?
Yeah, George R. R. Martin. I don't know if any of you. He's one crazy dude. Very original writing, really interesting stuff. It was a real privilege to be part of it, and the producer rang me and said that there's not many female roles, but we thought instantly, if we could get you, that would be great. They're issuing, I think it's a compendium of 3 volumes of all his collected works, so it's a very big deal, and they're releasing the audiobooks at the same time as the printed ones. You're so excited you could ... And the story, I mean, it was great. I really got into it. They were really easy read. I've been able to sort of pre-read some of the stories, but some of them I went in cold, and they came off the page. Apart from the names, I'm going to slap him when I meet him. It's all those sort of science fiction cliches of names, but everything's apostrophe, and you ask them to say, can I buy a vowel? So they sort of slowed me down a little bit, but I could really get into it. We finished a section, it was really exciting. The producer would say, okay, I got chills, and I'd say, good, it works there. But the writing made it so easy to get in there. So that was a really great experience.
Take the camera, not you,
And
Mom.
we're just, I'm hopefully going to be doing a lot more voice work, because it's a perfect job for a woman who can't hide a bump.
Are you going to get to do live?
Hi.
The other series?
I timed it improperly as a comment to the question. I was dressed up as Bali yesterday, and that was really fun. And I'm sure if you look around, you'll see some errands and ballas today. And my question is, do you do any imitations of your fellow cast members? And if so, would you like to maybe do a couple for us?
That's a good question.
Do Chris joke.
Sort of little ones. I mean, they're such individuals. I mean, these people have blown me away. They're so specific and interesting and surprising. And Chris Judge just is one of the most surprising individuals I've ever met. I wouldn't dream of trying to do an impersonation of him, I don't think, because how on earth do you capture all of that? People said to me, he's an amazing guy, wait till you meet him, and everything about him surprised me. And there's Gigi on Farscape, who was always so excited and positive, and we went to this party for the network. I talked about this once at a convention where they were launching, Channel 9, one of our free-to-air networks, which is like NBC, was launching their 2000 Millennium programming, which Farscape was supposed to be a part of. They still hadn't committed to the time slot, and the guy from the head of programming was walking around scratching his head saying, oh, science fiction's really difficult to program. Yeah, it's really difficult to program. ID, and they kept asking me for my name, and I said, it's Claudia Black, and they said, no, you're not on the list, you're not on the list. And Gigi's walking around going, hey guys, I'm going to walk around and see, apparently they've got our names written on stars on the floor, and I'm just going to go and find mine. And Ben and I tried to sort of stop Gigi before she went into the party and had her poor little heart broken, because we actually weren't part of the programming yet, even though they felt they had to invite us to the party. So they had these big TV screens on with everyone, including the newscasters with their faces up there, sort of showing previews of the news and what they would be showing that year. Nothing of Farscape. The most money this network had ever put into anything like it, and yet there was no sign of it going on air. But specific, I mean, and I of course remember Gigi that whole night, being so sort of sweet and positive. And, oh well, there's free food, and off she'd go. Specific impersonations, I have to think about it, and maybe next time, because I can do some decent impersonations, but I haven't even thought before of trying to impersonate my fellow cast members.
Claudia.
Hello.
You have to leave it too, because you got to go to the Walk of Fame.
That's a downer.
Claudia, real quick, will you talk to them about Stolen Life? There is a screening tomorrow at 2:30.
There is a screening tomorrow at 2:30 of Stolen Life, which is a movie I had the greatest pleasure of working on. It's a feature-length machinima film, and it's actually being screened as part of the
Robotics track. Yes.
The what, sorry?
The robotics track.
The robotics
Track.
track.
Yeah.